Everyone knows me as Ray. Some knows me as Pastor Ray. Some as that guy.
That
I define myself as that guy. The guy that, if you need to be there, is going to be there. I'm Ray. Pastor, of course. I said that I've been involved in the church ever since my whole life I can remember. But more distinctly from 2012, I would say that's when I made the decision, and that's when I began to define my life around being a Christian and becoming who God wants me to be.
Yeah.
I'm a salesperson, work in sales, sell cars. I like to dabble in pretty much everything, music, acting, believe it or not.
Acting? Really? What? Like,
but not serious acting.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just being a dramatic person. I love sports and love hanging out with people.
Yeah.
A good time.
Yeah. Do you still do music as much as you used to?
Believe it or not, the desire for music is coming. It's becoming like overcome, I would say, by ministry.
Yeah.
So because I'm currently prioritizing ministry, even though I still do music, it doesn't feel the same as I used to. Like, it was a big focus for me, maybe 2-3 years back.
Yeah.
But I am, part of a band, Dispensation, follow us?
Yeah, Dispensation.
Dispensation band, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that's my focus, managing the team, managing the boys, and whatever gigs we have here and there, still partake of that one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. So when did you came to Christ in 2012?
Yeah.
At what point did you realize that there was a calling in your life?
So I came to Christ way before that.
I
would say, but making the decision to follow Him, I feel like that's the turnaround for me.
Okay.
And that's when I felt there was a calling.
Yeah.
Because beforehand, so I would say towards the end of 2012, going to 2013, here in Brisbane actually.
Yeah.
There was a camp, and before I flew in, I was having a conversation with God, and I said, God, I know, or I sense there's a calling in my life, but I want you to tell me. I wanted to get confirmation from God Himself. Like, I wanted Him to tell me this is who you want me to be. So I asked God for two things. The first thing was, for the impartation of, the Spirit of God.
Yeah.
So, and the sign, obviously, that everyone always looks for is the gift of tongues.
Yeah.
And I said, God, give me that. And get the preacher, whichever day it is, to tell me this is what I'm called for. On the first day, nothing. Third day, second day, nothing. But the last day, night, last session, it's always the best.
Yeah,
really
that's actually
enjoys it.
true. Yeah.
And in that moment, I remember it was a young preacher. He called me out and he said, you've been asking God for certain things, and God is, telling you that this is what you're called for. You're called for the ministry, you're called into worship as well.
Yeah.
And he prayed for me, and I said, okay, that's 1 out of 2. And then literally like a minute later, I find myself on the floor and my tongue feeling so heavy, and boom, that's when it happened. I received the gift, and I stopped for a bit. I said, what's going on? What am I speaking?
Yeah.
And when I realized it was a gift, I said, okay, God, I asked, you answered, let's get this thing done.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
But have you always wanted to be a pastor? There's
No
this
way.
thing about pastors, no one wants to be a pastor.
No way.
How did you end up there?
It's hard work, man.
Yeah.
It's hard work because I think from the outside looking at what pastors do, obviously all we see is them preparing sermons and preaching. I think sometimes that's the thing that attracts most people to pastoring.
Yeah.
But when I started learning about pastoring, because I took the step to go into Bible college and learn about the different ministries, and when I started learning about pastoring, I learned it's more than just preaching. It's like almost giving your heart out to people. You become available all the time for people.
Yeah.
And when I learned that, I said, nah, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But I remember going, because in my life, I base things around a personal encounter with God.
Yeah.
So when I went to the US, and when I was there, one afternoon I was about to take a nap, and I was, about to take the nap. Then I heard, it's almost, I don't know if it was a voice, I don't know what I can define it as, but I heard someone said, you're going to be a pastor. And I was like, yeah, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
But then, you know, coming back, there was a lot of confirmations and then just being around young people a lot and growing up in a very dynamic youth ministry.
Yeah.
I started to really love looking after people in whatever capacity, and I think that kind of drew me into pastoring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, what was throughout the years, what is the one thing that prepared you to become like a pastor?
I would say the people before me. I'm a visual learner. So what I see, what I hear, I grab hold of that. And
Yeah.
I've had a lot of different people come in and out of my life over the years.
Yeah.
And they showed me a lot of different characteristics of pastoring. So whatever was good, I took. Whatever was, you know, may be an opportunity to learn from, I learned from that.
Yeah.
And I would say beyond the books, it was people being in that position that helped me
Yeah.
understand how to be a pastor.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. Like, I know that you haven't been in this journey for too long,
Yeah.
but like, is there some challenges that you kind of been facing? Because
Yeah.
to be honest, a lot of pastors look depressed. I won't lie to you. They look like they don't have like a
Yeah.
balance
Yeah,
in life,
yeah, yeah.
or like they're always tired. Like my
Yeah.
pastor, not gonna lie, he used to like sleep in church. Like he's that tired. So like,
Yeah.
So I just wonder,
No.
like, what's the balance for you? How do you balance your?
Yeah. Pastoring is like working in a fast food joint.
Wow.
You know? It's
Yeah.
like you come in there and literally like you have no time to think about yourself. You have no time to focus on you because there's always something to do for someone else.
Yeah.
But I started senior pastoring since April.
Okay.
So yeah, not too long, and that's a different type of ball game because now you're focused on everyone and everything, different ministries. And one thing I've learned is literally you have to be intentional with your time and make time for yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Just because there is a need to be there for people does not mean you have to be there for people all the time. I always say this, and it's a principle I live by: you can't give what you don't have.
Yeah.
And if you're empty, you're literally not going to be pouring into anyone. You're going to be like a car with no oil.
Oil. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just driving. Eventually, you know, it can still move, but eventually you're going to burn out.
Right.
You know?
That's right.
So one thing I've learned is just to time budget.
Right.
Just like you would budget for, you know, your finances, you have to time budget. This is how much I can give for people,
Yeah.
and this is when I need to give for myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think when I stepped into it, I thought it was going to be a lot, but I realized that people make it dramatic.
A lot. Yeah. Okay.
Like people
Yeah.
literally make pastoring dramatic. It's not. It's a beautiful thing. It's like marriage, right? You get into marriage. Of course, there's things that are not going to be right in marriage, but if you love someone, you always find ways to make things work. And I felt like I had to marry this calling of being a pastor.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be flaws. There's people that are, you know, going to piss me off. There's people that are going to make me say, God,
Yeah.
take this away from me like Elijah.
Yeah.
But I realized that you have to love God first, love yourself, then love people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say that's where my balance is. Just listen to God in the time where I need to,
Yeah.
stepping back when I have to,
Yeah.
taking a breather, turn your phone off.
That's right. Yeah.
The world is not going to end. People are not going to die if you're not there.
Right.
You know, take a breather. Yeah. So that's one of the things.
Yeah.
I've
So
learned,
it's more sort of like not thinking that they need you.
yeah.
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 Because people tend to do that. They'll be like, they can't survive without me. They always need me. Like,
100%.
yeah.
100%.
Have you ever experienced burnt out in ministry? You were a youth leader before.
Youth leader, yeah. I think the worst type of burnout is when your inside is burnt off, but
Yeah.
you put on a face like you're
Right.
all good.
Right.
And you hide in some sort of cocoon like I'm okay, but I would say every month, at least, you know, once a month, I'm tired. Literally once a month I want to hand in my resignation and be like, God, I'm done.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I think it comes from when I wasn't planning my life right and focusing on me, and I was always just giving myself to everybody. That's when I burnt out because all my resources were gone,
Right,
and I
yeah.
wasn't, you know, consuming anything new for me and helping me grow.
Yeah.
And yeah, like in youth ministry, there was a season. Actually, entering into youth ministry was dramatic. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't a smooth sort of transition. And I would say, especially like maybe where I grew up, transitions haven't always been the best. the passing on hasn't always been the best, because things just happen very, very rapidly without, being completely ready for it.
Yeah.
And I would say that's a theme of my life. I've never really been ready for anything.
Right, yeah.
But I'll be pushed into, I'll just thrown into the deep end, and I have to find my way, find my feet. But it's a lot, because now I'm carrying responsibilities, carrying emotional baggages,
Right.
carrying maybe past pain and past hurt, past trauma into something new, not letting it go.
Yeah.
And it affected my new walk, or my
Right.
new position.
Yeah.
And yeah, being burnt out, and the best way for me, I've learned over the years, is to communicate.
Right.
Whether to my mentors, whether to trusted friends that I have around me.
Yeah.
Communicate that, hey, I'm actually not feeling okay. I'm burnt out. I need help.
I need help,
And
yeah.
I get people that they run into my aid. They pray for me, and they give me wisdom in how to take a step. So yeah, burnout is terrible.
It's
man.
terrible.
It's
Yeah.
a bad place to be in.
Yeah.
A lot of people actually give up
Yeah.
on their calling because they're burnt out.
They're burnt
And
out, yeah.
they feel like no one understands or sees. But I've learned that there are people that actually genuinely care for you. They care for your calling. Like they're not only cheerleaders when things are going right, but they
Yeah.
want to make sure that you're going okay.
Yeah.
Find those people, let them stay close to you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's so right. So, like, I want to talk about this because being a single, maybe you're not single, but unmarried young pastor,
yeah.
How do you handle that? Because I know for a fact that when a young, good-looking, well-mannered,
Say it again.
well-mannered, minister,
Yeah.
there's always going to be girls,
Yeah,
showing
yeah.
interest. Like, how do you deal with that?
It's hard, when you're hot and you're fine. No, I'm joking. I've learned, so a lot of people say, it's good to get married as a pastor. So it helps, you're, at least people are not, they'll see a ring and they're like, oh, he's taken.
Yeah.
But in this generation, I've learned a ring sometimes does not matter.
Yeah.
And literally, it doesn't matter if you're single, in a relationship, or married. You can still fall into these temptations.
That's right, yeah.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the anointing, or maybe it's the being on the stage thing that a lot of people are attracted to. And I've seen that.
Yeah.
Whenever I go somewhere, whether it's new or, go preach somewhere else, you do get the one or two people like, yo, who's this?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind, having a trophy husband that's a pastor, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I've learned that the best thing to do is just guard your heart.
That's right.
Because it doesn't matter how many people come and tempt you. If your heart is right, you won't fall.
You won't fall, yeah.
But if your heart is not in the right place, in the right posture, that's when you'll fall.
You fall,
So I've learned that it's me. I would always be the problem if I fall. It will never be my position.
Yeah.
It will never be how many girls come to me, because now there is.
Yeah.
They come left, right, and center.
Yeah.
But you just guard your heart, stand your ground, know why you're doing what you're doing. When I became a pastor, I said, that I want to be there for people, help people, let them grow. And yeah, it's not for the for the fame, not for for people looking at me or whatnot, but looking at God. So one of the biggest things I do is I guard my heart. If I sense that something is a bit too off, just block them.
Yeah.
Like just give them a cold shoulder. Literally, just don't entertain anything. Like have high standards.
Yeah.
When you set high standards and people can't get to those standards, they just drop off.
They
That's
drop
the
off,
best way to really determine if your circle is for you, if the people around you is for you, if people come with the wrong motive, just set your standards high.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I've learned, like just don't engage. Because as soon as for me, I know like my past, before I was a pastor, I had a past.
Yeah.
And my past wasn't a very healthy past, especially
Right.
when it came to women.
Yeah.
Easily falling into things. I was very flirty, and people would be like, hey, nice, it's pretty cool. But because I entertain stuff, I get into something.
Right.
But now I just tend to block it off,
Yeah.
walk away, move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you say entertain stuff, because that's what will get you into trouble. Like,
100%.
girls, we read into little things.
Yeah.
Like how you respond, how you smile, how you, they'll be like, oh, okay, he
Yeah.
showed some interest, you
Yeah.
know? And then because there was a time where now all men of God were starting to be
Yeah.
categorized as, oh, they're the same, they lead you on, and then
Yeah.
they, you know,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. I've been there. I think recently as well, just like what you said, like girls read things differently. Like I realized that I could say something, but their interpretation could, you know, be based on maybe their past or other experiences they've had.
Yeah.
But my motive could be far off from something.
Right.
So I've learned, sometimes for me, because I used to be very impulsive, I just act, do whatever I feel like. But now I have to think. Sometimes I have to erase a message and be like, maybe they'll take this a certain way.
Yeah.
Or I will, you know, reiterate myself and make sure that they get what I'm saying. Not even girls, like speaking to anyone in general. People's perception is always based on whether, you know, their past or the environment they're in.
Yeah.
So it's always best to clarify. And in the context of, you know, a male and female relationship, it's always best to clarify. And just be honest from the start. Like if someone is showing interest and you're not feeling them or you're not feeling this, just be clear.
Yeah.
And as a pastor, they say, you know, run away from girls, but how are you going to get married?
You need to marry one of them.
Like God is not going to be like, here it is, you know, maybe, but for me, it's not, here it is, you know.
Yeah.
You get to know people, but, you know, I guess have some boundaries, set really, really clear boundaries, and then there's clear understanding.
That's right, yeah. In that area, has there been like social pressure for you?
Yeah, all the time. Before I became a pastor, it's like, we want you to get married first. And I was like, I'm not going to pastor. Because there's no point of me getting married to someone I don't know. There's no point of me getting married in a season I'm not ready for.
Just for the sake of a position.
Because ministry is not, you know, I'm a pastor, then I'm a husband, then I'm this. But ministry is all one. I'm a husband, pastor, and a child of God all together. Everything I do is for God. So it's best not to bring anyone in because of a position. But bring someone in for the purpose of love. You love them. Like you generally love them. You guys connect in a level where even without ministry, I'll still marry this person. But I'm not marrying them because of ministry. And in our culture, it's like, you know, they said you have to be careful. You know, once you get in the position, people are going to come for you. Regardless if I'm married or not, people are still going to come for me. Because we've heard a lot of situations where people who have been in the ministry for so many years, they still fall into adultery and all these sort of things. So I've learned the best way is never to succumb to pressure. Like there's no point of making decisions in pressure. Make it with a clear mind. So I was very, very clear with where I was. And for me it was, if you guys want me to get married, then we'll wait. We'll wait. I'll get married at my time, and then I'll start pastoring.
Because culturally, like our older generations, for them, like you can't have someone be a senior pastor unless if they're married. So I guess now things are changing. They're changing. I mean, it has to at this point.
Because for how long? Because I look at a lot of if we're talking about our culture, like the marriages of pastors and pastors' wives. How many girls nowadays say, I don't want to be a pastor's wife? And I'm like, why? Why is it so bad? I feel like it's because of them being pressured to get married. Then you see the dynamics and you're like, that's not an attractive marriage.
That's
not an attractive relationship. They're home, you don't feel the love or anything. Maybe they affirm each other, you know, at churches, like, my beautiful wife and all that, but do you call your wife beautiful at home, one-on-one? Do you have that affection? And because it's not that attractive, a lot of girls may be missing their calling as well because of the standards that have been set. So I'm like, get married to the right one, then focus on ministry.
That's right, that's right. Back then, like, people just used to have dreams, you know, like they see you preaching, they already analyze that you're the future husband. I'm sure someone has, you know.
I actually never experienced it.
Really?
No one's ever told me that I have a dream about you. Okay, because I'm a man. Like, you come to me, you chase me, I'm going, nah, I'm good. As a man, we want to chase. You know? Want to chase, Adam, he found Eve. You know, Eve didn't find Adam, so But no, I know that culture. That culture was fun.
Okay.
It was a good
it's
culture.
Good that you haven't been in it. That makes it easier for you.
But I guess I would have people that would sense or feel that, you know. I have other people that would be like, oh, this person might be good for you. You know, people picking and choosing, but end of the day, it's where my heart is.
That's right.
I want to be the one to go out and look for my person.
And you value the person even more because you worked hard for them.
100%.
I want to touch on being a yes man, like invitation wise. How do you go about like accepting invitations, do you, because I know that you have a standard and a level as a minister, and you know what kind of place you want to serve in and stuff like that. For example, giving this weekend. Are you just a yes man kind of person, or are you very picky with where you choose to go?
I've lived from a very young age, or since I kind of accepted Christ, that the best thing to do is just be led by the Spirit. Because as pastors, we're always preparing messages, and messages may seem sweet for one Sunday, but even if you try and preach that in another place, another location, another congregation, if it's not for them, it's not going to be received the same. So for me, it's always I need to get that inclination from the Spirit to go, because then I know there's something that's going to be there. And I would say this weekend has been great in terms of what I've learned, because I've learned so much. So much things was exposed to me, because this would be my first sort of, big conference where I'm speaking, multiple times in the city. Like I've never been
since you became a pastor.
Other invites were, maybe one session. And for me, Brisbane has always been, a close place in my heart, because, my first encounter. But before even I was invited, I really felt God speaking over Brisbane for some reason all the time. And then a week after, I got like a big message from God. I got caught up and I said, you know what, God, I'll go. But as a pastor, like I would feel that as a pastor, you have a flock to look in your season of pastoring. You shouldn't even be going everywhere. Like your flock should be the main focus. And I feel like maybe in our culture, that's something that has failed a lot of churches. That pastors are just going everywhere, and the sheep is like, where's our shepherd? So I think number one is understanding the season you're in, understanding the assignment you have in that season. That should lead you to places. I've learned that people, if they value the anointing in someone, or they value God himself, they have to have high standards for everything they do, whether a conference, a Bible study, a church service. And I think for me, what puts me off most of the time is going somewhere and you don't really sense that value. Most of the time, the biggest value may be from a flyer. But you can even tell sometimes, some people don't even put a lot of like intention in creating a flyer. It's not attractive. Like we're making God so unattractive for some reason. But then when and then we complain like why are people going out to like promised land, thousands of people. Because they put value in what they do.
And presentation.
From like even like everything small, from ushering to the sound system to musicians to people who are singing. The world puts a lot of value because they know quality is what brings people back all the time.
That's right.
But I've come to realize a lot of the times we say we have faith and we cover our lack of not having quality for now we're just moving by faith. But faith should always bring the most quality things, in everything that we do. So growing up, I've learned that I have to put quality wherever I am. And for me, what will push me away is if I come somewhere I don't see the values. Like, there's no point of coming again. So being a yes man, growing up, I was saying yes to everything because I was hungry. I was hungry for God. But then when you come to a place of maturity, sometimes no is more powerful than yes.
Thank you.
You don't have to be everywhere because you make it about yourself. Like this weekend, one thing that I've learned, or one thing that I felt God speak to me. Well, I spoke to God. I was like, God, I don't want to become addicted to this. Because if I become addicted to ministry, I'll not have time for intimacy with Him. And I'll make this my standard or how I measure my life with God, ministry. Because preaching is good. Like, it's great. Being in front of a crowd is great. And I feel like a lot of people become addicted to it. So they say yes to everything.
That's right,
or even like worship artists. Because it's a big movement now. Being worshipers from Perth. I see the same people everywhere, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, make yourself scarce a bit, so people can value, what you have. Like, you don't have to be everywhere.
That's right. That's good. That's good. Like, we have so much of the young people now that are hungry. They just they just want the pulpit. What would you say for like people like that, advice-wise?
My biggest advice, I reckon, would be, because growing up, I'm not gonna lie, like it looked good, But I think because of how I grew up, the pulpit was not made available unless there was intentionality. And I learned as well that being up there in an intentional moment has a lot more impact.
Yeah.
Because after like becoming a pastor, I realized the pulpit was available for me all the time, and I'm supposed to be there, you know, a lot. And I run out of, you know, inspiration sometimes. I run out of sermons. Some weeks I don't want to be up there.
Yeah.
You know, so I think the best way to kind of get people to value something is just give it to them all the time.
Yeah.
And you'll start to realize how they're like, yo, this is a lot. This is actually weighted. So one thing I would really say to young ministers is allow God to really lead you.
Yeah.
And don't be in a place or don't speak in a place that you're not led to go into. Because believe me, like the most important thing is that we were supposed to feed people as pastors. We were supposed to, like what Jesus said to Peter, feed my sheep, tend my sheep. I always ask myself, is what I'm feeding people necessary in this season to nourish them? Because if you're not bringing nourishment, you're bringing malnourishment into people's lives.
Yeah.
If you're not feeding them something that is healthy, you're giving them fast food.
Yeah.
And that fast food is not good for them. It's still food,
Yeah.
but it's not good for them. And when you're always eager, say, I want to be up there, I want to be up there,
Yeah.
did God lead you up there? Because if He didn't, you're giving them something that may damage them more than take care of them.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm always focused on the assignment, which is the people. Is what I'm giving to them valuable?
Yeah.
Or am I doing it because I want to? Yeah.
Yeah. I want to touch on the side of finances as a pastor.
Yeah.
Let's say, would you put a value on yourself financially? Let's say for invitations or even within your church.
Yeah.
Because I believe that, like, if you're serving full time,
Yeah.
the church needs to take care of you as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in that area, like, what's your mindset about
Yeah.
that?
I agree with you 100%. If it's a full-time job, of course, like you should get paid. Scripturally, that's in context. Like
Yeah.
the priest, they will get the fats of the offering. So pretty much they do get a big percentage for themselves because they've dedicated their lives to God. In my context, growing up or in our culture, I would say because of the size of our church, we still haven't staffed anyone yet, which is fair enough. But if the church does have the ability to pay, they should, because if you expect someone to be there all the time, looking after you, working, and it's not full time in the sense where it's, you know, whether it's just Sundays, but you're doing a lot more behind the scene, you know, a lot more.
That's right.
For myself, I've never felt the need, if I'm ever invited someone, to ask for anything. But you know, the good thing is that I've been with people that do value like women and men of God, servants of God, and they give accordingly. I feel, you know, if you invite someone, if I invite someone, I wouldn't expect them, you know, to buy their ticket, get a hotel for themselves, you know, organize all these things for themselves. It's something that I would do because I've invited them. And I'll bless them because they've taken time away from their family. And a lot of, you know, ministers, they have people that they look after, you know. They have family, you know, like we're talking about marriage, like there's pastors who are married with kids. So literally when you're inviting a minister, you're not just inviting them, you're inviting the whole family in a sense. Even though they're not there presently, but you're saying your time away from them, we need to put back into your family.
That's right,
And I feel that there is definitely a shift that needs to take, especially in our culture that, when I speak about culture, I'm talking about, you know, maybe African churches and all that. Invest, give into those that are dedicating their lives. I remember when we, you know, decided to give a lot more for our pastor. Like for some reason, God is so faithful that He blessed us even abundantly because we were honoring, you know, who He has anointed for us. And believe me, the principle is so simple. You sow, you reap. If you keep holding and you're afraid, or the more you give, you're going to lose, it's going to go.
That's right.
If I would say churches definitely need to invest in their pastors, and then next people need to invest in their worship team. Those guys work like 100%. Dogs, bro. They work so hard, you know, and we expect a lot from them. And they are taking time off, you know, they're sacrificing so much. These sort of areas, a lot of people do, a lot of leaders, they sacrifice a lot, but I think these two areas have been neglected so much. but they're the most dominant areas in the ministry. And I think this is why we're losing a lot of people to the world, because we live in a world where you need to have finances in order to live, literally. So if I want you to sacrifice a lot of your time, I need to make up for that, or else you're going to choose work over, over church, which is fair enough. Like, who can blame them? Like,
because you're making me volunteer my time.
And even if I say, if you can't give someone finances, give them some sort of compensation in terms of at least feed them spiritually. You know, I'd say, or invest into their life, mentor them, grow them, give them more time than you would everyone else. Because I did come, from the worship scene as a musician. If I had gotten a lot of, quality time with someone in the house that will, invest in my ability to learn, for example, even like paying for, lessons, that in itself shows a bit of gratitude.
That's
like,
right, yeah.
Hey, we love your gift and we want to be able to invest into it and grow into it. I feel like I would go a lot further.
That's right.
Instead of me paying for my own lessons, then, you're getting petrol, going to church, you're spending a lot of time, with everything that you do. If someone else saw the value and invested into it, but people grow. But it's been a big challenge, especially in our culture, like to give, because it almost seems like we shouldn't work for God. Like,
that's what it is.
Treasures in heaven, but
everything has to be for free. They need everything to be for free. Which is really unfortunate. That's the
sad.
mindset.
It's very, very sad. Because I've been to very diverse cultures, and when I go to a church that is staffing a lot of their leaders, you really see that people give back to the church, like immensely. Immensely.
In church, you have people in positions and leaderships. How long do you normally keep people in leaderships for? Because people get burnt out, and sometimes they get you stuck in a leadership position for like 10 years.
I use this principle that Jesus is 3 years. Obviously, I'm new to ministry, but it's something that I've been kind of learning. Like 3 years to do what you need to do and you move on. I don't say, keep people there for 3 years, but there has to be a plan, a transition plan, and there has to be innovation in what you do. And you have to think like this: I'm not here, for a long time. I'm here to do what I need to do and pass it on. If Jesus can say it's better for me to go, because if I stay, the Holy Spirit's not going to come.
It's not going to come,
The impact is going to be less.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people have parked their cars in one position for so long and have surpassed their time. And because they've surpassed their time, there's no further movement, because we're stuck. We're stuck with the same mindset. And believe it or not, it's really hard to change a mindset. Once someone is fixed-minded, it's hard to change their mindset. Even if the Spirit of God is doing something new, you still want to be like, nah, but we used to do it like this. Like, in my days, you see us talk about the past more than we talk about the future, because there's no visionaries anymore. But if there is a smooth transition plan, you're going to see people just grow. And because I feel like when you do come into ministry, when you do come in leadership, it's not forever.
Right.
Like, it's definitely not forever. Like, you have to progress. Like, God is very progressive, just like everything else. Time, seasons are progressive. God is progressive. So I would say, number one, I would say pick your leaders, right? Like,
don't just chuck anyone.
Don't just fill in spots, because think about it this way, and I think a lot of people don't. Like, you're running an organization. Would you just pick anyone for your job, even if they don't have the skills? Or would you pick them and not train them? Because that's another issue that we have. You get leaders to fill the position, but there's no further training, or the training is very generalized. We always, tell ourselves to focus on the heart, which you should, but we don't train the skills. And then we ask ourselves why we're not growing. Well, we don't have trained people, in leadership. Or we have some people that are so prideful that they just hold on to something and think that it's all about them.
It's all about them,
But when you tell people, hey, this is a time frame and you are going to progress, you see people really value the little time they have. But if someone feels like they have a long time, there's no value.
They'll just stay there.
Become old. And that's what I feel like as well for our pastors that, we're pastoring. A lot of them got burnt out and got tired because they should have let go a long time ago, or at least saw who was next
Yeah.
and played a different role. And I thank God for my pastor. Him passing it on, he's able now to move in the fullness of the calling that God has for him.
Yep.
Because now you see the impact and you see the freedom. And there's no, you know, like stress. I have a church, I need to stay. But it's okay, God has put someone else there.
Yeah.
Now I can go fulfill what God has for me.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times when you hold on to something and you don't progress, you're not only letting other people down, even yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you're going to go nowhere. And you get bored and you get tired and frustrated. That's why frustration, there's no joy.
Yeah.
In ministry, everyone's just angry. Like meetings were the only time people would express themselves. But every other time you just like, it's not vibrant. And I'm like, what's going on with church?
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
It's boring, but the praise, you know, that people learn to take in, then let go and move on.
Yeah,
you know?
That's right. Well, Pastor Ray, it was great to have you.
That was awesome being here.
That was good, yeah.